Hello again. Okay, so today I want to talk about a couple of things revolving around starting your own business. I've had a couple clients ask me if they want to start an Airbnb business, how they would go about doing that, what entities they need to visit, and how it works overall. I've had some experience with this in the past, and I've had several clients who have done this in the past, so I thought I'd do a quick video giving you an overview as to how this works. So, without further delay, let's get into it. The first thing that you need to do if you're in the state of Indiana, if you're not, then you need to go to your own state. And I'm not sure exactly how that works, but in the state of Indiana, you go to this website, the Indiana Secretary of State. You can click on kind of get started here, and it's going to take you to a screen where it's going to ask you for your login information. If you don't have that, you need to go to sign up. It's right here. You sign up, you'll get eventually to the same spot that I'm going to get to. But the idea behind this is you need to have an account at the Secretary of State, and it will take you somewhere, and it will eventually get you into something like this, and you will be able to kind of start the process. You'll see right here, it says start a new business. Okay. I didn't recognize the screen at first, but it basically just is like a guide that coaches you through how to answer these questions. And if you know the answers to the questions, you can get through this in no time at all. There's a little bit of a fee at the end that you have to pay for getting this set up. There's mostly just logistical questions in here, like what's your address, who's your principal individual that's setting this up, what's their information, what's your email, what's your phone number. And then eventually you will get or be able to get a business name. You're going to have to look on here and make sure that your business name isn't already used by another business. But all that is captured inside this Secretary of State website, which is probably offered through every state, but I know in the state of Indiana, it's definitely offered through the state of Indiana. So this is the first thing you need to do. I don't have the exact link to the website, but just Google Indiana Secretary of State and maybe even add to it start a new business, and that will take you there. Obviously, you can see it here up on the screen as to what it would look like. That's step one. That gets you the exact name that you want for your business, right? So any of these could be an example. Sharlock Inc. is my financial service business. That is a business that you would want the name to be exactly the same. Okay. And then what you do is you go over to another site, which is the IRS website. You can kind of see here, irs.gov. What I would do is go to any search engine, type in irs.gov, and then get an EIN. And it will take you to this screen here, or this page that allows you to do the next step, which is to sign up for an employer identification number. Okay, that's what you need. You scroll down a little bit on this page and it says apply for an EIN. You click on that button, and again, it's an assistant that takes you through the process as to how you do that. Do you need one? Well, yes, if you are trying to form a LLC to protect your assets and to have a tax structure or entity, that's one portion of it. Getting an EIN is another portion of it. Getting proof of your address might be needed at times too, which might be a third portion of it, which might require you to get a bank account. A lot of times this information and this stuff is going to be required for you to purchase assets, or maybe for you to obtain insurance. But overall, it's not that hard to do. If you run into any problems, you can reach out to me or reach out to someone else, and they can typically help you get through that in a short time period. I would just tell you this: you're going to get asked what sort of entity you want. Okay. An LLC, an LLP, and many others. LLCs are great for owning things like real estate or rental assets or something like that. An LLP is for a partnership that you might be involved in with somebody else, and it's very similar to an LLC. Then, after you get through that election, you will likely get asked if it's a single member LLC or if it's not. A single member LLC, I know it sounds weird, but that would allow you to have a little bit more flexibility as to whether or not you actually file a tax return for that entity. And in my opinion, that's important because a lot of times you would want to file a tax return for that entity, and sometimes you wouldn't want to file a tax return for that entity. Business tax returns run roughly $500 to $1,000 a year, roughly. A lot of variables there, obviously, but you get the idea. Sometimes you'd want that, sometimes you wouldn't. So having a single member LLC, if it truly is a single member LLC, might make some sense. There are several options when you get into that you should talk to somebody about before you kind of go electing the process. But you will need to know how you want to be taxed as an entity. That's probably the biggest thing that's the most confusing to somebody who's not immersed in this on a day-to-day basis. You can be taxed as an S corp. You can be taxed as a sole proprietor. You can be taxed as single member LLC, and that's kind of a different election altogether. But anyways, this is the structure of the process in which that happens. If you have any questions about this stuff, you can reach out to me. These are the main two things that you need to form a business, and then you can go on your way afterwards with purchasing property or whatever you want to do. Hopefully this was helpful. Reach out if you have any questions. Talk to you soon.